because there seems to be a notion in Mecklenburg County that it's okay to overtax our citizens for infrastructure. If it works for the right people, that's part of it. But for example, on I-77, there is a huge difference between a lane run by the state to manage some type of throughput and one that's managed by a company for profit. They control, literally control by market force, by what they charge. They control the congestion in the general purpose lane such that they maximize profit. So it is not about dealing with congestion. It's about getting their money back and managing profit because they made the investment. As a free market guy, I have no problem with them making money. I just have a problem with them making money as my solution to congestion. So I'll probably talk more about questions than anything else because that's it. But that's coming to I-77 South. That we have found out is going to be the case in I-77 South. And I don't know about Highway 74, but it's the same. My guess is you find that also.
Commissioner Puckett, my understanding is also that neither the state nor the local municipalities in the north will have any ability to expand any other surface type streets for the duration of the Central contract. Is that correct?
Kind of. The protected corridor essentially does, and DOT guys can help me with this, expand over. You cannot do any additional capacity that would impact the capacity of I-77. So you can do some improvements, for example, on 21, and some of those are planned, and 115. I don't think there's any really planned there. But you cannot, for example, make them limited access so that they become a highway. Now, the real problem is you can't do it anyway. I get a lot of people that go, well, why don't you just use the other road? Okay, well, Highway 21 is now Statesville Road. One of the problems with Highway 21 is that when you get on it, you run literally into the lake. It stops in Cornelius, and Highway 21 becomes 77 North. Highway 115 is the only other north-south corridor, goes through downtown Davidson. And to widen 115, you will either have to take out downtown Davidson on the west side, or Davidson Presbyterian Church on the east side. So that is not likely to happen. So you are constricted back to that one thing. So there can be some improvement, but you cannot improve it sufficient to handle congestion. It's still 777.
I've got a, okay.
Yeah.
Hand with the microphone.
Yeah, just to add to what Commissioner Puckett said, we actually do have projects in the TIP to widen segments of 115 and US 21, as well as West Catawba Avenue. So we are doing our best to respond to the surface street needs and the ability to get to the grocery store without necessarily having to get on I-77. So there is additional funding also that the legislature approved in accordance with the acceptance of the 77 contract, and those funds were also put to the corridor, put to projects along the corridor, and that's was part of the methodology that the NPO used to assign which projects that funding went to.
There's a bit of good news, bad news there, and I'm going to use the microphone. Y'all can hear me, I suspect. The good news is they are going to make some improvements to Highway 21. It is literally, where they're going to make the improvements are probably 400 yards from I-77. That's the good news. The bad news is they're going to be making those improvements at the same time that they're widening I-77. So the great news is we're going to have construction everywhere.
Well, let me add to that. The 77 lanes are to be completed by January 2019. The US 21 projects, for instance, are going to be starting in 2021. That's not the good news necessarily. It might be the bad news. But you know, 2020, US 21 is a little bit farther out.
How about 21 was 2017? Well, I'm sorry. So the good news is that I'm going to widen 21. The bad news is it's a while away.
Okay, Mel?
I live there, so that's okay.
DOT rep, are you a Scott as well?
Yes.
Scott, you're a Scott as well?
My name is Scott, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make
I'm
sure
not
I got
Scottish.
your name right. I want to thank you, by the way. You're the first person that's ever begun an explanation of what managed lanes are. I haven't heard it before. Yeah, just my curiosity, my engineer brain's going here. How do you control access into the managed lanes? How do you manage it? Is it some sort of light system, or do people continuously see a toll readout, or what? I'm just curious.
The way it will work is there will be a series of signs before each access, the last of which will tell you what your toll is. Basically, the way this thing will work, you know, I know folks have capitalized on one end to the other. You know, it's going to take me $10 to get from one end to the other. But the way this thing works is the project, the route, is divided into segments. Most segments 2 to 3 miles long. Okay, and so you're sitting there driving along, and you look to your right. You look at what's going on in the general purpose lanes. You look to your left, what's going on in the express lanes. You see the toll, and you make a decision. Okay, your toll is basically when you go past that last toll sign, the one that tells you what your rate is, you're locked in. Okay, it won't change. Okay, you get 2 to 3 miles down the road, you do it again. You see what's happening in the express lane, you see what's happening in the general purpose lane, you make another decision. If you need to get out to get to your destination, you get out. If you want to stay in and continue to achieve or reap the benefits of this toll lane, you do that.
And you're locked into the original toll?
You see another sign that tells you what the toll on the next segment is.
Okay.
Okay, and you make that decision.
People have to understand engineer brains work differently.
Okay, one thing, I will recognize people with questions. The mic is over here right now.
Well, can I just
You wanna
add
answer
one,
that?
I just add one point to that. I just want to make it clear, you know, when we're talking about you would have an option to pay that lane, to pay that fare to divert around traffic. One of the points I was making before is with additional general purpose lanes, you won't even have to make that choice because you will be able to drive freely in faster roads. So I want to make sure that's very clear. Yes, there's options. That's great. An option, maybe it's $2, maybe it's $10. But why should we have that option as opposed to having general purpose lanes that will provide just as reliable? The argument before of reliable travel time, that's great if you pay for it. It's only if you pay for it. It's only reliable if you pay for it. Whereas a general purpose lane, which adds capacity, as we said before, factually adds capacity, provides reliable travel as well.
Question over here.
Yeah. I have a question for gentleman here. The project on 485, will there be any legal restriction in expanding the general purpose lanes if the explosive growth that you talked about occurs?
No, sir. Simple answer.
Do you expect the same no restriction on the southern part of 77?
I don't know what is going to happen on 77. Basically, where we have 77 is in our transportation improvement program, but it's 10 years out. Okay, it's not only 10 years out because it's going to be expensive, but it's also 10 years out because we have to do basically an environmental study that concerns that entire 10 miles of roadway and looks at all the businesses and residences along that route, as well as the environmental impacts, etc. So that NEPA process, National Environmental Policy Act, that process is a lengthy one. So it would be very premature for me to speculate on exactly what's going to happen and how we're going to deliver that project.
I'm asking the question because as the population increases, the congestion on the corridor will increase. You are going to control the amount of the traffic that goes on the toll lane by raising the toll. You need to do that to maintain the speed. So as the congestion increases and you manage the speed by increasing the toll, you'll be putting all of the additional congestion onto the general purpose lanes. And at least up on 77 North, you're tying hands.
Well-
You can't relieve that pressure.
Yes and no. Okay, so, right now, you drive down one of these corridors, look around you, look at the people, look at the other cars, the people in the other cars. You'll see what? One person in every car. Okay, these lanes are basically the next generation of an HOV lane. If you've ever driven the 77 corridor, you'll see the HOV lane, and you'll see that it is nowhere near capacity. Okay, so when I say this is the next generation of an HOV lane, you can ride free in a bus, you can ride free in a van pool, you can ride free with two of your closest friends or people that you don't know. And the rest of the capacity will be sold off to those other people in the one person per vehicles that are willing to pay for it. Now, we hear a lot about Lexus lanes. I think it's just the alliteration of the L and the L. But a study was actually done in Georgia on the I-85 express lanes. The first most highly used vehicle in that express lane, Honda Accord. Second, Honda Civic. Third, Toyota Camry. Fourth, Ford F-150 pickup truck. And fifth, Nissan Altima. So, these are working people that need to get somewhere quickly. And they can do so by using the express lane.
Okay, over here.
Wait, Tim.
Well, one on the cars this year, I'd like to see a proportion of number of Honda Accords using it to number of Honda Accords owned. Because certainly it's the most popular car. You would think that would be the most popular one being used no matter what the situation. But I do want to add a point to it. So when you think about the fact that if there's a managed lane that has a toll fare on it and two general purpose lanes, if you're thinking about adding another general purpose lane, what are you automatically going to do? You're going to reduce toll revenue. So what's the incentive to adding a general purpose lane to anyone, whether it's a foreign company or even government? You're simply going to reduce toll revenue. So you're going to have to consider, okay, well, if I spend money to add a general purpose lane, I'm going to lose money from people using toll lanes. So there's no incentive to do it. The other thing I wanted to add to that exact point, travel time reliability. You give travel time reliability only to the lanes. To your point of adding congestion into the general purpose lanes, you reduce travel time reliability to those in the general purpose lanes. So while you might provide an option for those who can afford to pay it, you've basically told everybody else, sorry, it's on your dime. You're the ones that are going to have to lose productivity in your jobs. You're the ones that can be late to getting your child to child care and have to pay an extra fee. You're the one that could potentially be trying to get to a hospital and have a real issue.